So this is the most nervous I've ever been in my entire life. I'm going to sit down, just in case I pass out. It'll be a smaller fall than it would be.
Love you, Clint!
And if I do pass out, Giancarlo can just do some more magic, and then I'll wake up and we just finish the talk. And so I kind of do that actually for myself. If I know that you know that I'm very nervous, then it kind of helps me too. And like Father was saying earlier today, all your problems don't go away as soon as you find what you're supposed to do. And so right now I give that up to God. And so let's do that through our Blessed Mother, Father, and Son, and Holy Spirit. Hail Mary.
Full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women. Blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
And so I'm using my notebook here because I'll probably forget some things. But just a plug though, if I could recommend one thing for discernment, just practically to help you, it would be get a notebook that you like. This is a moleskin notebook. You can go buy one. It's very nice. It's got a leather cover. And just write in it as much as you can. And it doesn't have to be from prayer. It can be what happened during the day. But it'll just help you understand what do you think about, what are you attracted to, and what have you been attracted to in the past. Maybe you'll think of things from your childhood, and things will start to come together, and you'll realize that as you're writing. And then you'll start to understand, like, oh, this kind of makes sense. I can see that now. And it's kind of an easy way to see where is God guiding you. And so I recommend that, getting a journal if you don't have one. And so, I just wanted to run through my kind of vocation story, and just if it helps you guys. And I hate talking about myself, but I do it a lot. Out of pride, but so I had a great childhood. I was very lucky, and because I had parents that really cared about me, and not everybody has that. And I had a sister that's a saint too. she's As soon as she dies, I'm gonna open her cause for canonization because I think that'll go through pretty quickly. She's perfect. My parents are amazing, and I was that problem child, you know. And bless their hearts, they really did their best with me, and I was always comfortable at home, and I always felt love at home. And my parents, we didn't really talk so much emotionally, but they really showed me, and things that they did, the ways that they supported me. And so in high school, Gibbs and Southern, yeah, there they are. There's a lot of them. I loved high school. The thing is, like, it's so easy to compare yourself to other people in high school. That's what I did. It was like, in order to understand how much I was worth, I had to compare myself to other people. And I had to be, in order to be worth anything to myself, I had to prove that I was better than everyone else. And this was a very competitive nature in me. Through the soccer players who played soccer. Man, that light is insane. Raise your hand. Okay, where my left mid's at? Where are the left mids? Nobody. There he is.
We're in the back.
Okay, yeah. And we're the track stars. Who's in track right now? Okay. Hurdlers, where are the hurdlers at? There we go. 4x1? 4x1? Okay. Where's the mid distance? Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I loved it. And I loved it. I spent every waking second thinking about it. And that's all I wanted to do was just be better. Be better than everyone else in order to get that fame, you know, just, all that. I loved it. I was fed on that. And I love to draw, I love to paint. We're the artists. Okay. And so that's what I wanted to do, but I knew I wasn't good enough to do that for a living. So my art teacher was like, well, maybe you should do architecture. I'm like, okay, never heard of that word before. I was pretty dumb. I made good grades, but I didn't know a lot of stuff. I didn't read a lot. But so I went to Ball State University in Muncie, Indiana for architecture, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I was really good at it. And once I realized that, it was all over, as you can imagine. The competitive nature started kicking in again. And all I wanted to do was prove to people that I had the best project. I built the best models, I had the best drawings. And I had that Instagram, that's what everybody was on. Okay, I'm gonna get followers. Okay, 500, that's pretty good. 1,000, that's pretty good. Okay, 4,000, that's pretty good. 6, that's pretty good. But soon, like every time I would post a photo, I would go back to it, like every 20 minutes. Who liked my photo? Just scrolling through, looking at their names. People from Saudi Arabia, like all 500 people, you know, it's like, who likes me? I want to know them. And that's where I went to get my self-worth. And it all came from things that I did. And so as I did this and kept doing this, I was cutting myself off from everyone. I had no friends really that really cared about me. And I started to get invited to parties. That was the first time I started going to parties. I never really drank in high school, but college I started drinking. And it got really bad because what I realized was the anxiety that I had dropped off completely whenever I was drinking. And people started to like me, and I noticed that. The thing was, people liked me. And in real life, they liked me. I just didn't notice it. I didn't think I was worth anything. But I had to be drunk in order to cut that anxiety off and to understand that people enjoyed being around me. And as I was going back and forth between this, I had just a mental breakdown. I remember talking to my parents one night. I was doing fine until they called, and all of a sudden I just realized how much stress I was under, and I was putting it on myself. So I was just like crying in my room to my parents over the phone, and nothing really changed after that. I just kept going back to school, working all the time in the studio, drinking a lot. Other girls were involved, you know, I loved all that. I loved the attention. And it was until I realized after this one night, it got so bad that the next morning I woke up and just had a sense of like, what are you doing? And that was the first day that I went to adoration since high school. And I just sat there and thought about that and felt God say, what are you doing? I need you. And then somebody after adoration came up to me and said, hey, you want to join a Bible study? I'm like, man, I think I need to join a Bible study. I didn't stop drinking, but slowly it kind of tapered off. And then I realized that there's people out there who actually love me for me, not for the things that I did. And so gradually I stopped working so much and started spending all my time at the Newman Center. I started going to daily mass as soon as class let out. And that's all I really cared about. Adoration every week. I was going to confession. And then came time for graduation. And then I had to decide, in architecture, you have to get your master's degree in order to be a licensed architect. And so I had to go to graduate school for 2 more years at least. And so I was considering where I was going to go. I was applied to The Ohio State University, wherever Elliott Church is at. He goes, Yeah, Kiesel, sorry. And the Ohio State, UCLA, Harvard, and me and my dad took a trip out to UCLA to go visit, and it was beautiful. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. And we had a great time, and we talked about all the things that had happened to me in college, because I had never really told him about everything. And he told me about himself that I had never known all these things from whenever I was 5. He had never told me before. And so I really got to know my dad at that time. And so I went to grad school, and I ended up going to Washington University in St. Louis because it was close to home. And my parents wanted me to go there because it was close to home. And I knew they did, and so that's what I did. And I was like, man, there's no chance. My faith is so strong now, there's no chance that I'm going to go back to the way that I was. Boom. Immediately, like weeks, I went to daily mass, and it was done. It was all over. I was in studio. Nobody knew who I was. I'm like, well, I got to prove to them that I have 6,000 followers on Instagram. So they got to know that I'm good at this stuff. And so I had to prove it to them. And slowly but surely, it got almost twice as bad as it used to be. And I was in just an insane depression. I had started taking depression medicine in college and anxiety medication, and I still have to take it today because now I'm like addicted to it. I can't withdraw from that. I have serious problems, and so I went into this crazy depression, looking at God. Monstrance and asking, like, do you love me? Why haven't you shown me what you want me to do? Just tell me what to do and do it. It's that easy. And I said out loud, show me that you love me. Because it's hard to tell. And immediately I heard a baby crying outside. And I immediately thought of my mom. Whenever I was having a mental breakdown in college, she left work and drove 4 hours to come pick me up and take me home. And I spent the weekend at home. She took care of me. And then she missed work on Monday to drive me 4 hours back to Ball State, and then 4 hours back home by herself. And if that's not love, I don't know what is. And I thought of my dad. I recall my college visit to UCLA on the plane ride home. I've really had claustrophobia. And another 4-hour trip. About 1 hour in, the turbulence of the plane kept going up and down, and I couldn't take it. I had to get off, and I couldn't stop. I started having a panic attack. I got really tense, and I knew I couldn't leave. For another 3 hours, I was trapped in that plane. It was everything I could do. I just leaned over and laid on my dad's lap and said, make it stop. My dad had just converted to Catholicism a few years ago. He's a very introverted guy. Doesn't really show his emotions. He pulled out a rosary from his pocket. I didn't know what he was carrying. He said, do you want to pray a rosary? And I said, yes. In front of all those people, you could hear him. My dad started praying a rosary for me as it was shaking in his arms. By the second mystery, it was completely at peace. If that's not love, I don't know what it is. So I was in adoration there in the CC after having this almost vision, really kind of thought, but I just wanted God to show me himself physically. Show me yourself. Show me your heart. And I looked up to the tabernacle as I usually do in prayer, and it was wide open. Pitch black, the tabernacle. And then I looked onto the altar. Jesus was there in monstrance. I had put him out there and I totally forgot. But it said to me, "Here I am. Here is my heart. Here is my dearly beloved Son. For you, he died for you. Here I am." And there you are, as the tears were all over my journal. My desire for God, my desire to know what he wanted, to know what he wanted from me. And so, I continued in Rome. Continued with those anxieties too, about being very nervous. About being very nervous to be a priest. Think I was completely inadequate. And so, I started comparing myself as I did in high school. I started comparing myself to the guys there. And they're all perfect. The greatest guys I've ever met, some of them. Just like, there's no way these guys are going to be great priests, and there's no chance. Like, I can't see it. I can't see it. I can't imagine myself doing that. And so I left. And then I got home, no longer being a seminarian. And I started working in architecture again. But at the same time, I was very comfortable there. I was so happy to be home. And I was very unfulfilled at the same time. Every day I would go to work, and I would choose what clothes I would put on, and then realize I should be putting on clerics right now. But I'm not, because I'm too scared. I'm too scared to face that fear of public speaking, of making that sacrifice, of having courage. And so I went to Sourceland Summit last year, and I was listening to Sister, I don't remember her name, and I just remember saying, because I have really strong feelings for married life too, and that was one of the excuses that I made for coming home as well. But I remember listening to Sister and just looking at her and saying, "That is the most beautiful woman I have ever seen in my entire life." Not only physically, but there's something she represents that I want badly, and it's perfection. What I see in the sisters is who they love, and who they love is God, and you, all of you, the church. And there is no one else I would rather be married to than all of you. And so I started reconsidering, maybe I made the wrong decision. And I got angry because I wanted God to respect my decision to leave. I had free will. I chose to come home and get married. That's what I want to do. I want you to respect that decision, God. Because I gave you a chance and you never told me what you wanted me to do. But that anger was coming from fear that I wasn't good enough to do it. I was always getting ready for work one day. I was about to brush my teeth, I think, or something like that. And just all of a sudden, came out of absolutely nowhere. Just this feeling, I can't explain it. Like a feeling of just love that I'd never felt before in my life. I simultaneously just felt inadequate, just totally unworthy to be loved that way. But at the same time, I felt him saying, I need you, and I want you to be my priest. And I just broke down on the floor. I couldn't even stand up, I couldn't kneel. I was just laying on the floor in my bathroom, just crying like a baby. Because I knew how much he loved me. And from that moment on, I realized how much I'm loved by him, and how much of a person that I'm worthy to be loved. I'm a person who matters. I'm a person who's worthy of being loved. And that changed my life. I decided to go back to the seminary. And it felt like I was going to my death. That serious. I felt like I was going to die. I had a few dreams where there was this hole. You remember the claustrophobia? People were diving in this hole, and that hole meant like eternal life. I knew that, and I couldn't do it because I was too scared of being trapped. And there was another dream where there were two elevators. I had just been reading Story of a Soul or something. Teresa will sue elevator to heaven. And so I think this is what I was thinking about while I was dreaming, that there were these two elevators, and I came, and it was like terrifying elevators. One of them on the right was all by itself, and I knew I had to get on that one, and it was going to heaven. But I was too nervous. I got way too scared. And I looked over, and my family was getting on this elevator. And so at the last second, I decided to bolt over to that one. But as soon as I got there, the doors closed, and they left. And then so I waited, and they came back down, and then I asked, like, why didn't you hold the door for me? My mom, she said, well, we heard you coming. I'm like, well, why didn't you wait? And I think that dream, it was me running after something that made me comfortable. And this one, the lonelier option that seemed to me at the time, that was the calling. That's the one that I should be on. But the comfort, I was so attracted to the comfort that I couldn't do it. And so going to seminary felt like just an absolute death. I was so scared. But realizing that I was a person worthy of being loved. Every time that I would go to do a reading in front of the seminary, I could finally do that, knowing that it would be okay. Because it didn't matter, because my brothers loved me and they really cared about me. And they weren't judging me. And it didn't have to be perfect. If I passed out, it'd be okay. If I died, it'd be okay. Yeah, it's not a big deal. And so I still struggle with that all the time. And it's a constant battle every day. And the doubt is a constant struggle every day. And it's the evil one saying, as I'm growing in prayer, growing in virtue, the doubt gets worse and worse. It's growing simultaneously. Because Satan knows if somebody possesses love, what they're capable of. And so every day I have to choose love over fear. Every day I wake up. You should have seen how nervous I was giving the rosary in Greek today. Like, oh my gosh, man. So scared. So scared. if it's to show other people how worthy they are of being loved, it's all worth it. If you get that into your minds, that you are a person who is worthy of being loved without doing anything at all, it's all worth it. That is something I am willing to die for. You are somebody who I would die for. So does he every night. I love you guys so much. I'm praying for you. I was working, I kid you not, 14 hours a day in the studio, working on projects. And then I would go to my apartment and sleep for 10 hours. And notice how much time there is for other things. 0 hours. I would get food, bring it back to the studio. I was that guy in the studio that would make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches because I had my